Welcome. My name is Amy, and I will be your personal guide as together we explore strategies to improve your skills to make you a more effective leader. You've taken an important step in enhancing and expanding your ability to interact with others in a meaningful and impactful manner, and I want you to get everything you can out of this training. This training is designed so that you can take it at your own pace. Take your time, do the activities to ensure you will be able to put your new learning into practice. Learning alone will not make you successful. You must take action. It is only through the application of our knowledge that we can truly shine, and I know you can shine. We're in this journey together. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time with your questions or comments. I'm here for you. Now, before we get started, make sure you've printed off your training guide. This will help you capture all the key information you will need to put your learning into practice. I know, it may seem old school, but some of the latest research shows that writing out notes is the most effective way for adults to learn. So if you haven't printed out your guide yet, hit that pause button and go do that right now. All ready? Excellent. It's my pleasure to be your guide through this training. Let's begin. How to build your integrity. Right versus wrong. Sometimes it's easy to tell the difference. Do you stop the child about to run into oncoming traffic? Or is it not your problem because it's not your child? Hopefully you realize that's an easy one and you choose to save the child. Other times, deciding between right and wrong is not so clear. Do you allow production to continue on a product that is going to save the company's bottom line, even though it has a 2% failure rate that results in injury to the customer? Or do you put the entire company and its employees at financial risk by halting production while the glitch causing the failure is corrected? There's a potential for negative outcomes whichever course you choose, creating a lot more gray in the decision-making process. This is where integrity comes in. As Zig Ziglar says, with integrity, you will do the right thing, so you will have no guilt. Shades of gray. Decisions that are clear in the right versus wrong are generally easier to make. Decisions that are less clear, clouded with gray, are frequently seen as more difficult to make. Difficult decisions require us to think about the outcomes and the consequences. The decision isn't instinctive. Thinking requires us to understand our own values and motivations and to make a judgment about the situation. The reason this is difficult is because many of us can't articulate our values and motivations. Even if we can come up with terms for them, they tend to be challenging to describe. Whether we are trustworthy and dependable, whether we are consistent and fair in our decision processes, and whether our actions meet expectations, all combine into the nebulous term integrity. Integrity is all about doing the right thing, both in the spotlight and in the shadows. As Dwight D. Eisenhower said, the supreme quality for leadership is unquestionably integrity. Without it, no real success is possible. Let me tell you a little story that was once told to me. I think you'll find it brings Eisenhower's quote home. A successful businessman was growing old and knew it was time to choose a successor to take over the business. Instead of choosing one of his directors or his children, he decided to do something different. He called all the young executives in his company together. He said, "It's time for me to step down soon and choose the next CEO. I have decided to choose one of you." The young executives were shocked, but the boss continued, "I'm going to give each of you a seed today, one very special seed. I want you to plant the seed, water it, and come back here 1 year from now with what you have grown from the seed that I have given you. I will then judge the plants that you bring, and the one I choose will be the next CEO." One man named Jim was there that day, and he, like the others, received a seed. He went home and excitedly told his wife the story. She helped him get a pot and soil and compost, and he planted the seed. Every day he would water it to watch to see if it had grown. After about 3 weeks, some of the other executives began to talk about their seeds and the plants that were beginning to grow. Jim kept checking his seed, but nothing ever grew. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks went by, and still nothing. By now, the others were talking about their plants. But Jim didn't have a plant, and he felt like a failure. 6 months went by. Still, nothing in Jim's pot. He just knew he had killed his seed. Everyone else had trees and tall plants, but he had nothing. Jim didn't say anything to his colleagues, however. He just kept water and fertilizing the soil. He so wanted his seed to grow. A year went by, and the CEO asked the young executives to bring their plants to work for inspection. When Jim told his wife that he wasn't going to take in an empty pot, she asked him to be honest about what happened. Jim felt sick to his stomach. It was going to be the most embarrassing moment of his life. But he knew his wife was right. He took the empty pot to the boardroom. When Jim arrived, he was amazed at the variety of plants grown by the other executives. They were all beautiful, in all shapes and sizes. Jim put his empty pot on the floor, and many of his colleagues laughed. A few of them felt sorry for him. When the CEO arrived, he surveyed the room and greeted his young executives. Jim just tried to hide in the back. "My, what great plants and trees and flowers you have grown," said the CEO. "Today, one of you will be appointed the next CEO." All of a sudden, the CEO spotted Jim in the back of the room with his empty pot. He asked Jim to come to the front of the room. Jim was terrified. He thought, the CEO knows I'm a failure. Maybe he'll have me fired. When Jim got to the front, the CEO asked him what happened to his seed. Jim told him the story. The CEO asked everyone to sit down, except Jim. He looked at Jim and then announced to the young executives, "Behold, your next chief executive officer, Jim." Jim couldn't believe it. I mean, he couldn't even grow his seed. How could he be the next CEO, the others asked. Then the CEO explained, "1 year ago today, I gave everyone in this room a seed. I told you to take the seed, plant it, water it, and bring it back to me today. But I gave you all boiled seeds. They were dead. It was not possible for them to grow. All of you, except Jim, have brought me trees and plants and flowers. When you found out the seed would not grow, you substituted another seed for the one I gave you. Jim was the only one with the courage and honesty to bring me a pot with my seed in it. Therefore, he is the one who will be the new chief executive officer." Integrity. In Jim's case, determining what was right from wrong was clear. It wasn't easy, but it was clear. But as you know, determining what the right thing is isn't always easy. And what might be the right thing for one person might not be the same for someone else. That means that integrity doesn't look exactly the same on everyone. So, how do you establish yourself as a person of integrity? Integrity is one of those things that become greater than the sum of its parts. You develop integrity by honing the individual parts so that when they come together, it creates something powerful. Let's talk about 5 of those key parts. Honesty. This one shouldn't surprise you. Honesty and integrity are frequently linked together when talking about great leaders. But it's more than simply being like Honest Abe and not telling a lie. Consider these questions. Are you being genuine and providing truthful and complete information? Are you transparent about where you stand on issues? Do you explain, in simple, easy-to-understand terms, how and why you came to your decision? Do you set the record straight when miscommunication takes place? Do you say what you mean and mean what you say? Do you tell it like it is, or do you sugarcoat it and try and hide behind your words? Think hard about these questions. Ask a trusted confidant for their take on your level of honesty. Have you mastered this trait, or is it an area of growth? Values. Talk about a vague and hard to describe word. We all have values. These are our beliefs and our principles. But many of us don't take the time to think about them. However, having a clear understanding of what you will and will not do can make your decision-making process much easier. You must know what your core values are. As the saying goes, if you don't know what you stand for, you'll fall for anything. What are those lines that can't be crossed? What are the convictions that are most important to you? Be able to explain why. Do you demonstrate ethical behavior? Do you write, speak, and act your values? Think hard about these questions. Have you mastered this trait, or is it an area of growth? Trust. Trust and honesty are very interrelated, but they are different. Generally, the more honest you believe someone to be, the more you will trust them. And the more you trust someone, the more you believe they are being honest. Honesty is something you put out into the world. Trust is what you receive from others. But there are ways, aside from being honest, that you can show that you are someone who can be trusted. Be consistent in your values, decision-making processes, and actions. Your words and your actions must match. The more people know what to expect from you, the more trustworthy you will be viewed. Are you aware of how you impact others? Are you aware of the perspectives and the needs of others? Do you genuinely want the best for others? Do you walk your talk? Do you do what you say you will do? Do you model the expectations that you put on others? Are you just the message, or are you the messenger? Think hard about these questions. Ask a confidant for their take on your level of trustworthiness. Have you mastered this trait, or is it an area of growth? Respect. While there are some cultural differences in how respect might be shown to others, there are some tried and true approaches for the workplace. Do you let the other person speak? Do you use active listening strategies to focus on what they're saying and what it means to them? Or do you just plan your rebuttal? Do you ask for the opinions of others before sharing your own? Are you aware of your body language and your tone of voice? Do you treat people fairly and equitably? Are you polite in how you interact with others? Courtesy and respect go hand in hand. Have you mastered the trait of respect, or is it an area of growth? Ownership. Here we are talking about personal ownership, not commercial purchases. Ownership is an emotion, a feeling or attitude that we express through our words and actions. People will respond to us and judge us based on our expressions of ownership. Do you take responsibility for your decisions, actions, and words? Can you admit when you're wrong? Can you give credit when credit's due to whomever it is due to? Are you aware of the consequences that will result from your actions? If you have a personal bias about a situation, do you make it known? Do you address problems as soon as they come up? Think hard about these questions. Have you mastered this trait, or is it an area of growth? As Zig Ziglar says, it is true that integrity alone won't make you a leader, but without integrity, you will never be one. Having integrity doesn't mean that everyone will agree with what you do, but it does mean that people can respect you for the decisions you make. Values are a key component in integrity, and not everyone has the same values. That is why there will always be differences of opinion, and why two people with high levels of integrity can sometimes have opposing views of the same situation. Putting it all together, what forces motivate you as a leader to do the right thing? Do you gather all the facts from all the sides so that you can reflect honestly on the decision? Do you follow your internal compass and your values? Do you use the same standards and expectations of trust for all your decisions? Do you show respect to everyone involved in the decision? Do you take ownership for your decisions, regardless of the outcome? As Samuel Johnson once said, integrity without knowledge is weak and useless, and knowledge without integrity is dangerous and dreadful. Some people say that integrity is something you either have or you don't have. I disagree. I believe that integrity is something we build on every day with every decision we make. We constantly have the opportunity to act with integrity, or not. It is a choice we make. We can choose to be honest. We can choose to honor our values. We can choose to be trustworthy. We can choose to be respectful. We can choose to take ownership for our actions. We can choose to lead with integrity. The choice is yours. What do you choose? What did the young executive Jim choose in our story? Your choice. What will be the first action step you take towards building your integrity? Look back over the 5 key elements: honesty, values, trust, respect, and ownership. Which of these do you already live? If you've already mastered 1 or 2 of these, great. Keep living those. Now, what about the ones that are an area of growth for you? Pick one to focus on. What can you do to start making that skill a positive habit? Did you jot down notes on what that skill entails? If not, you may want to go back and rewatch that part of the training. If you want to improve a specific skill, you must consciously and consistently be practicing those actions that demonstrate that skill. With each skill, I outline the strategies needed for that skill through the questions I asked. So, which skill are you going to start with? And what are the specific strategies you need to practice to improve that skill? Write those actions down on your worksheet. Practice is what will develop the skill into a habit. Master one habit before you move on to the next. Small steps will lead to big changes. Become a leader with integrity, one small step at a time. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to let me guide you through this training. I hope you found it useful, and I really hope that you stick to your plan and start taking small steps to build your integrity.